Hello all YouTubers, the Weather Dude here. Just before I watch the video, just wanted to let you know, please consider checking out my website. You can access it in many ways. If you go into the About tab, highlight it, copy it, paste into a new tab. In discussion, you can just click on the link and it'll take you right to my website. Okay, instantly just like that. Also, in this video and my recent 5 videos or so, okay, my 5 or 6 most recent videos, you can find them in the description. It'll be the first thing in the description, so you can't miss it. Please consider checking out my website. I just made some new updates to it, and I think you guys will really like it. I do have 5 pages, so please consider checking those out. Okay, I have the home page, the blog page, members, hurricane, and tornado season 2020. And please consider logging in as a member as well. And you can always, this video right here, where it says my website is launched. I give you a tour of the website so you know everything that is on it. And at the bottom, please consider signing up for the mailing list and becoming a member by logging in. Totally free. Enjoy the video. Thank you for watching. Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back into this weather presentation for March 26, 2020. As always, please consider subscribing as well as ringing the bell notifications. Now, today, since it has been 2 weeks, okay, since I did my last outlook, yeah, it's been pretty much exactly 2 weeks. We're going to be doing my second Atlantic hurricane season forecast. I actually haven't changed the forecast, but just updating some maps and just getting you informed on the latest. My outlook, though, has remained the same. Now, when we look at the Niño 3-4 region, that is the region that determines our El Niño and La Niña patterns, okay? And this video is still very important to watch because there are some changes to the forecast that could determine the rest of the season, so you might want to stick around. Right? April 20th, or April 2020, excuse me. So a lot of the models, okay, the Niño 3-4 did shift close to El Niño. Okay, I mean, we're not in an El Niño phase. I mean, it just went up a little bit. Okay, it's bound to happen. It's gonna go up. It's gonna go down. But overall, it will eventually start to go down. So you see a lot of the models here on the positive side. Okay, on the positive neutral phase. Remember, we have El Niño right here. This is your what's called positive neutral. This is negative neutral. This is La Niña. The farther you are that way, I mean, as long as you're farther to the left, you're probably going to have a more of an active hurricane season. And the NASA model and well, you can barely see it, but the CANSIPS is a little bit, I mean, it's pretty much right on the 0 line for April. Now for May, notice how everybody just shifts backward. Okay, we start, and you can look at the mean, which is at the bottom, which is a combination of all the models. And the mean, okay, is 0.3, which is still neutral. The mean of the models by May 2020, the sum up of all these is 0.1 now. So it's definitely starting to drop. All the models are starting to drop, as a matter of fact, or starting to get close to that 0 line, that even line. The European model, okay, the BOM model, JMA, MEDIO, UKMO, all still above the average. For June, things start to change. Okay, NASA's well in the La Niña already. Okay, with NOAA right on its doorstep, or close behind it. Okay, and the mean of all the models is now about negative 0.05. So not quite negative 0.1 yet, but close. Now July gets even better because, and you'll see why I'm actually showing you this. Okay, NASA and NOAA are in the La Niña phase. CANSIPS is chugging behind. Our anomalies now are probably around negative 0.35. So basically 0.35 below average. And now, adding August to the mix, there's pretty much not one model that is above the 0 line except for the European and ever so slightly the JMA. Okay, but everybody is retreating towards the La Niña phase. This is indicating that as we head through time, okay, that we're going to get closer and closer to a La Niña phase. And about negative 0.4 by August in terms of the mean. Alright, so here are the latest kind of like the monthly sea surface temperature anomalies. This was actually around the 14th. This was the latest I could find, but it is still updated from the last time I did from the last video. This is still an updated version. So you can see we're up near El Niño, but on our way down. Okay, some miles we go up a little bit and then come down. We go down a little bit. We continue to go down. So it's kind of a cone. It's like forecasting a hurricane. Okay, this is where it is now. All the models are bunched together, and then they just kind of spread out. Okay, I mean, it's going to happen. Okay, because the uncertainty grows over time. And this you might recognize from my other video as well if you watched it, but this is now updated as well. So notice we're at 0.8 now. We're going to fall to 0.6 by May, 0.2 Celsius above average by June, meaning that neutral phase, 0 by July, and below 0 by August. So getting close. Well, I mean, we're definitely in a neutral phase, but potentially on our way to La Niña. And as that's happening, the chances for La Niña go from 0 to 8 to 11%. But at least according to this specifically, they're really confident in that neutral phase, especially during the month of June, 94% chance. And notice El Nino chances drop. 58, 25, 6, 5, and back to 6 briefly for August. So overall, according to this, they are saying La Niña. At least the Niño 3-4 probabilities is saying that neutral is probably going to be the best bet for their forecast. Okay, so this is also from the Australian Bureau of Meteorology. These are the Niño 3-4 SST anomalies. Notice April, okay, 0.3. We go to negative 0.1, so just below 0 by June. And by August, we're at negative 0.4. So over time, okay, over time we're going down in terms of the Niño 3-4 SST anomalies, possibly. How is this affecting the Western Atlantic right now? Well, as you know, the Niño 3-4 has actually went up towards an El Nino. Okay, and as a result, the Gulf of Mexico has really heated up. I mean, it's gotten really far above average now. It's been like 3 degrees Celsius above average. So basically, when you're saying that, okay, 3 degrees Celsius above average, basically, let's say an area in the ocean was supposed to be 24 degrees Celsius, right? But if they're 3 degrees Celsius above average for that ocean spot, that means we're at 27. 24 degrees Celsius is like about the upper 70s. So like 70, I believe it is, yeah, about 76 around there. And 3 degrees Celsius above average, you're talking about 80, 81. So 3 degrees Celsius doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot. So we're really far above average now compared to 2 weeks ago in my last video. And you can see we had a little spot of above average, but we still had some cool spots. But those have all been wiped away. I feel like sometimes when it goes up towards an El Nino briefly, this stuff can kind of happen. You notice the Western Atlantic is really heating up too. The Caribbean, it's still kind of above average, but kind of where it's always been. Hasn't really changed for you, and it's not that much above average either. Caribbean's not all that impressive. You can see from the last time, look, it's pretty much exactly the same. I said the Caribbean actually did better last time. But the Western Atlantic, we don't have like these cold temperatures or colder than average temperatures along the Florida and Georgia coast anymore. Okay. Now, these are the anomalies. These aren't the actual ocean temperatures. Now, the ocean temperatures, these are going up. That is expected to happen. All right, so look at the Caribbean. The Caribbean actually went down in some spots. So look here. We were 27 just just southeast of Cuba. We were 28 before. So couple parts of the Caribbean have actually cooled down, but overall the Caribbean's been going up a little bit. Okay, not much to what the eye can see. Off the coast of Florida, remember how that yellow could barely make it off the southeast coast of Florida? Well, that's now expanded all the way up off the coast of Georgia. I'm seeing a little spick of yellow there. There's also now a couple spicks of orange starting to show up. So we're starting to heat it up, and also eventually notice how this is also starting to expand here. I got some yellow and orange expanding into the Gulf of Mexico, when before our ocean temperatures were pretty much in the low to mid 60s along the northern Gulf Coast. That has now risen into the mid 70s. So it's amazing we jumped like 10 degrees Fahrenheit in the ocean temperatures over a couple weeks for the northern Gulf Coast. So, if it wasn't for the coronavirus, I mean, depending on your state, of course, probably be a great time to start hitting the beach kind of early for those people that don't really want to go in the water, but because it's going to be hot. Okay, so like I forgot to mention that as well. Expect these anomalies and the ocean temperatures to increase because I looked at the surface temperature anomalies for over the Gulf of Mexico, and they're going to be well above average for at least about 6 days, because the southeast is going to be under the influence of a high pressure, which is going to sit right about here, and it's just going to kind of heat this whole area up. So, hopefully, probably, the Gulf of Mexico will be increasing in terms of ocean temperature. In terms of the anomalies, okay, before off the coast of Africa, okay, it was a lot of reds. Now, not so much. Now, just some oranges, but it's still warm than average off the coast of Africa. Also, the subtropics kind of stayed the same from 2 weeks ago in terms of the anomalies. Now, of course, both regions have since warmed up. I mean, like we were like 20 degrees here. Now that's kind of lifted to the north a little bit. Okay, definitely, I'd say that it's definitely lifted north. Because look, the 20 degrees Celsius that used to start at 30 degrees longitude. Yeah, 30 degrees north. That's now all the way up here to about 33 degrees north longitude. So basically, this, what I'm trying to say here is, if you don't understand, it's basically this is going to basically lift away, and all of this yellow and orange is eventually going to lift up this way. But it's going to happen. It's going to happen over a period of time. Okay, we're still in about the low to mid 70s off the coast of Africa in terms of ocean temperatures, as expected. And can I actually like zoom in a little bit? Yeah, we can zoom in. All right. Just, oops, that is wrong. Anyway, so when you move west, okay, across the Atlantic Ocean. Sorry for that little slip up there. But as you head west, okay, across the Atlantic Ocean, it's going to gradually warm to 22, 23, 24, and eventually 25, 26, 27 out in here. So when a hurricane, when they start eventually doing that, you're going to start to notice that happen. Or they move west, they get a little bit warmer. Or the ocean gets a little bit warmer, so the hurricane most likely is going to strengthen unless we have wind shear problems. All right. Now you're going to see a lot of these graphs, probably 4 or 5 of these side by side like this, and analyzing different regions. And the Niño 3-4, well, not the Niño 3-4 region. This is the Caribbean, kind of like the ocean temperature anomalies. All right, let me zoom out a little bit. All right, so when you look at the Caribbean, okay, before 2 weeks ago they were about 0.432 above average. It is now 0.429, so it's pretty much stayed the exact same. The anomalies really have not changed from 2 weeks ago. So like I said, the Caribbean has pretty much stayed the same the whole time. If not, actually dropped a little tad bit. Same thing with the MDR. We went from 0.31 above average to 0.30, so 7. So you can barely even notice the change. Okay, and there should be a change over 2 weeks. I mean, this is like 2 weeks ago, and this is now. So there was some changes over 2 weeks, but overall, it's pretty much come down to, it's made it like an M shape. And it's pretty much come back to the same position. Eventually, I mean, that's what it's been doing. Not always going to happen, but it can. The North Atlantic has chilled down some. We were at 0.44 below average. We're now at 0.48 below average. Again, so here's 2 weeks ago. Went up like this, and here is now. So we pretty much cooled down a little bit in the Northern Atlantic Ocean too. I mean, the oceans in like these regions, okay, the ocean is still gradually warming up. It's just that the anomalies are cooling down, so they're not as much above average as they should be. The oceans are still warming up, okay? That's pretty much going to happen. Unless we have some kind of big storm or big, like, freeze, Arctic freeze or whatever. Now, there is a noticeable change in the East Tropical Atlantic. We were 0.4 degrees above average before. We kind of, like, arced down since then, so now we're 0.3 above average. So that's kind of a noticeable change. Okay, here's, like, oh, actually, no, that's the wrong one. Oh, so this is 2 weeks ago, and this is now. Probably on our way down even farther. Probably for the Eastern Atlantic. Finally, the Niño 3-4 region, okay, that has skyrocketed. Okay, we were at 0.38 above average, sitting in that neutral spot, and all of a sudden, after I made that video, just shot up. Okay, so now we're at 0.65 degrees Celsius above average, which is pretty much in an El Nino. I mean, it wouldn't be in an El Nino because it's got to stay there for a long period of time. I mean, something like this sort of happened back in like early to mid-January, okay, and it's eventually going to come back down, but even though we've been in a neutral phase, we pretty much haven't even touched the zero line at all. I mean, we haven't even gotten close to it since like the end of December. Other than that, we've been pretty far above the line, like at least 0.2 degrees Celsius above the line. So we haven't really gotten that, far. If you look, so like right here, like mid to late December was the closest we've ever gotten. We haven't even dropped below the line in like at least a few months. So that's pretty amazing. Here is the Saharan air layer, okay, dry air patterns, okay, over the Atlantic Ocean. Eventually, so what you see here near the equator, okay, I feel like that'd be better if I just use my neon. feel like you can see that better. There we go. So all this satellite activity, this storm activity on the satellite imagery that's going towards South America, that's being suppressed down here because of all that dry air that you see. Once this dry air starts to thin out and lift up north as the hurricane season progresses, all this storm activity is going to be coming off Africa like this. You'll eventually start to see the pattern in a few months. Okay, here's why. I mean, the ocean temperatures across the Gulf of Mexico, I mean, can provide for a tropical system, okay? But the problem is we got too much dry air and wind shear. Wind shear I'll show you later. Okay, but look at the dry air. I mean, that's like moderate to strong dry air. I mean, over everywhere, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, the East Coast. The East Coast you can't see it because there's a big storm there right now on the satellite, so it's kind of blocking it. But it's still there. East Coast, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, out in the tropical Atlantic, everywhere is dry air. There's like pretty much not one spot that there's really no dry air. The only place that there's no dry air, which usually happens at this time of year, is below 10 degrees north longitude. Right? Okay, I hope I'm actually reading this right. No, it's 10 degrees north latitude. Sorry about that. I've been reading this all backwards. So yeah, it's 10 below this line usually in the early part of the year. I noticed this last year, last year. I noticed this last year where usually in the early part of the season, a lot of the thunderstorm activity will remain below 10 degrees latitude. It's going to remain all down here. And eventually that will lift north as hurricane season progresses. And we get more favorable activity coming in. Alright, so here basically is the tropical cyclone, what you would call like heat content. Just see like, is there a lot of oceanic heat to provide for the storm? Here's what we had back in the, I should probably change back to black now. So this is what we had back in the 11th of March here, and this is what we have now, currently, the 26th of March. You can see not much different. Actually, there's like a little faint color of orange. It's actually disintegrated a little bit. But what you might have, or might not have noticed, is that, so you see all this teal here? Even though like the strongest area right here is gradually just ever so slightly decreased, all this teal stuff is starting to expand, and that was never there before. This teal is not here, right? You don't see it? Well, it's over here. So that would explain how, I mean, you see like the ever so slightly heat content starting to drift into the Gulf of Mexico. It's very low, but you could, I mean, it's evident, but it's low heat content. Alright, so let's go to the next slide now. Here we go. So wind shear values. Okay, latest wind shear values. The only place that there's really no wind shear is over Mexico, and no tropical system can form over the land of Mexico. I mean, no tropical system can really form over land like that, especially if it's mountainous. I mean, there can be like a low, like I've seen low pressure systems over land that drop into the ocean and develop there. Okay, that can happen. I'm not saying that can't happen. But I'm saying like a tropical system cannot actually, like there can't be a low formed and then we have a tropical system, and no, that can't happen. It has to happen over the ocean. Now, there could be a strengthening storm system over land, sure, but it cannot be a tropical system. It has to form over the ocean. And it has to form in the right conditions. Okay, wind shear values are running kind of high. The only place where it's actually okay for development right now is the Caribbean, the Western Caribbean Sea near Central America. Okay, this area was actually deemed favorable for tropical development by the hurricane, well, not the hurricane, but by some of the hurricane forecasting maps and Hurricane Center. But there's still a lot of dry air, though. That still will just erase any kind of development. All right, so now we're going to look, as to wrap it up here, this is kind of the wind shear we're going to look over the next 1, 2, 3, and 5 days. Okay, so here's 24 hours out. Okay, this is 2 p.m. Friday. You can see this is Africa over here. All right, and we just got a lot of wind shear, 50 plus knots of wind shear over this region here. Okay, if we look to 48 hours out, okay, there's a high pressure here. And high pressure is, well, actually, I have it backwards. It's pushing the wind like this, but in the upper altitudes, it's actually reversed because the jet stream wind flows west to east like this. So it's pretty much going to do this all the time. Okay, we look 3 days out, we start to see some wind shear dying a little bit. Okay, but you have to look, like a storm like this, like there's actually a lot of wind shear right there. It's just that they have to put the storm there, so the storm is covering it up. But there's still a lot of wind shear in that area. That's just a storm. So sometimes hurricanes, what they can do is, if there's a hurricane here, you'll see like a lot of green and blue, because you have to put the storm on the map. So the storm can actually create like a little protective wall sometimes. Like a strong hurricane can actually build a wall around it, and I'll show you, sort of like this, to kind of block out some of the wind shear and dry air. Sometimes it can happen because it's like thunderstorm clouds that are building around it, and sometimes it can combat with the dry air, but sometimes you just can't handle it and the wind shear just kind of tears it apart. It's usually what happens. And finally, 5 days out here, okay, nothing's really going to change. Okay, the wind shear is going to remain above 50 knots probably for at least the next month, or at least for the next couple of months. Or I could say at least for about 45 to 60 days, to say the least. That's just being nice. Okay, because that's what happens at this time of year. Okay, eventually, like I said, once hurricane season kicks in, and especially heading towards July, August, this wind shear is all gonna disintegrate, lift north. So will the dry air, and eventually, thunderstorm activity. You're gonna watch like all these thunderstorm clusters that come off of Africa, eventually develop and spin towards home. Okay, but before that happens, you have to watch closer to home. Places like the Gulf of Mexico, really far above average ocean temperatures. This is just a sign, potentially some, if hurricane activity, because remember, just because we have warm ocean doesn't mean, ooh, low pressure, ooh, hurricane. No, I mean, we still got to have the moisture flowing over that region too. This is just saying that it's favorable. I mean, in terms of the ocean category, we still got a lot of dry air, a lot of wind shear, but like I said, hopefully third hurricane season outlook, we'll see some more updates to the forecast. So thank you for watching today's video. I'm the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time. Thank you for watching.